Now, here I am speaking about women in finance and let's empower women and let's, be the voice for the women. And I was born yesterday. Like literally, I have not seen this industry and have not got the experience in this industry. And I recognize that, guys. I'm not coming here saying I'm the first advocate for women in finance, right? You haven't all been waiting for me to build your careers. I appreciate that. But I'm building today. I don't think I've seen anyone else build a podcast, a safe space for women to come and talk about their career. Now, this isn't about shaming and blaming anybody at all. In fact, all of our conversations have been so empowering and positive because it's about celebrating the talent in the industries that are typically and predominantly considered as male trades, right? So we're talking about property, finance, construction. So when you think of an accountant, you think, oh man, right? You might not now. Okay, so listening to you, you're like, actually, I know loads of female accountants. Yes, but if you were to ask the most innocent of a person, and let's say you asked a school pupil or your kids, right? Think of a fireman. What kind of, even it's in the title's in the name, right? Like a policeman. I know now we've changed that to police officer and things like that, but the preconceived idea was that these jobs were done by men, right? So that's why I've created this podcast, is that I wish I had this podcast for the women that came before me that would have put something together that I could have followed and seen financial services differently, because I came into the world of property and mortgages by accident. And it was definitely not on my radar. I was not considering it at all as a career path. But maybe that's because I didn't see enough people in that space being represented that I could relate to. But I'm so glad I found you guys. And thank you to all the IFAs, lenders, mortgage specialists, fintech platforms for welcoming me into this industry. It's been a journey. It's been amazing. But on that note, I have brought here today an expert in what the industry has been like. And I say expert, I don't like that word for, you know what I mean? I'm bringing someone who's got experience and knowledge and actually has lived the experience. So I'm talking about women in finance, right? And we're in 2024. Why are we still talking about the men and the women? Like, why do we still have to explain that story in 2024? Imagine then, it's not 2024. Let me take you back to the 1980s. What would that story have been like? What was the women in finance story back then? I don't know. So I'm here to talk with and interview someone that I've been following on LinkedIn for a while. I've never met her. We just support each other virtually, digitally. Like, we can follow each other's content. We've been liking each other's content. Funnily enough, I've met her husband, but I've not had the pleasure of meeting her. So without further ado, I am delighted and so excited to speak with today Lyn Webb from Mortgage Saving Expert. Hello, how are you doing, Lyn?
I'm very well, thank you. And I'm so pleased we got the email about what to wear today.
I know. I don't know how we both turned up, given that I'm always dressed in yellow. How are we both in a black shirt with a white collar? For those people listening to audio only, me and Lyn are dressed exactly the same. Oh my gosh. Well, we've got style, babe. We've got style.
Obviously.
So tell me, my love, for everyone who doesn't know you, and if they don't, I don't know where they've been in financial services, but just in case they don't know you, please can you talk to us about who you are and what you do?
Of course. So, yes, thanks for the introduction. My name's Lyn. I started my career very much the same. It was a total accident, and started working for a very large building society. It's not known by the name it was known then. It was called the Alliance Leicester Building Society. It's now known as Santander. And I used to work there basically because my mum worked there, so she got me a job. I saw the girls and the boys in the mortgage department, and they looked really cool. And I wanted to be part of the cool gang. So that was my aim, to get into the mortgage department. And that's where my journey started, really, in the 80s. So I learnt my craft, and we had to administer existing mortgages that building society were doing. Things were very different then. Women were not managers, women were not team leaders, women did admin work. So there were quite a few of us, and it was a big head office, and we worked behind the scenes, and there was no male and female environment then. And it was quite a shock when I left that environment to go out and become an actual mortgage broker. And I think that's when it really hit me.
What hit you exactly? What was it that when you say it really hit me, talk me through that.
So the Alliance and Leicester merged, and I took voluntary redundancy. So I thought this was going to be easy. I'll become a mortgage broker. So I became a mortgage broker for a well-known estate agent. And I did my CMAP exams, because you didn't actually need to be CMAP qualified in the building society. You had your own little FCA exams you had to take. So I became CMAP qualified, and I suddenly realised that in our region, there was about 50 people. And there was only me and one other girl in the whole region. And I was really surprised, because I'd come from a mortgage department where it was an equal split. And I noticed very quickly, even in the estate agent, that all the negotiators were men. The only other person in the office was the secretary, who was a female. And it was very different. And it was a really strange environment to work in. And the men, the negotiators, would fill your diary up every day with appointments, leads from who they were showing around properties. And they were targeted, like negotiators are now, and they would fill up your diary. And there was none of this, or where you going, or get an address. It was just, yeah, you're going to see Mr. Smith at 7:00 tonight. So off I would go, still very young, going off to see Mr. Smith. And one day I went in to see Mr. Smith at 7:00, totally innocently, walked into his house and said, I understand, you'd like to speak to someone about mortgage. And he said, yes, please, come in. There was no questions from the negotiator like, will your wife be there? Will there be another female? Or this is a man on his own. He closed the door behind me, locked it, and then showed me his gun collection, of which I was really scared. And all I wanted to do was leave the room immediately. And I just didn't know what to do. I hadn't been in the job that long. And it really, really frightened me. So I got out there as quickly as I could.
Oh my gosh. Lyn, that is really, do you know what? That's not, how is that what you used to do? And then I entered the industry at around 2015. And that is something I'm also expected to do. So really, that there wasn't that much of a change from when you were doing that role. And then when I had to do it, and that's 2015. And I had to go out on my own, on the road. And I just thought it was normal. Every other BDM's doing it. Why shouldn't I be doing it? So I've always thought to be quite street savvy. And I mean, don't throw me in the middle of like the sticks and expect me to come home. But I thought like, I'm quite savvy. I'm quite like, I can stand up for myself. But I used to have to drive on the road all day by myself as a BDM, go and see random brokers who majority would be men, right? Because I was going out to see brokers. And you'd think, these are qualified, decent, legit businesses. I'm going to be okay. But there were some situations I was like, I need to go. Like, I need to get out of here. Like, I'll tell you, one was, I'm pretty sure I interrupted a drunk consumption moment. Pretty sure when I knocked on the door, I interrupted that. So I had to scarper on out of there. Another situation was this guy just sat me down and was, instead of talking about mortgages, we were talking about his deceased wife and how he could feel her in the room. And I was like, yeah, I'm really
This is not what I'm paid for.
And then another situation was, oh yeah, I went out for lunch. You know how you take your clients out for lunch, and this broker was just absolutely downing the pints, and I was purposely ordering like soda water and things like that, and I was like, I've got to go to one of the meetings, and they were like, oh, just one more round. I was like, no, I've got to go, and they just ordered, and then I actually went. And this is women, how you can get your power back and own your, like, even in difficult situations. I don't know what you would have done, Lynn, but I went up to the waiter. I said to the guy, I was like, no, I'm just going to go and pay the bill. I went up to the waiter and said, can I pay the food bill only? I'm not paying for drinks because I'm not endorsing this behavior. Yeah, I'm just going to pay for the food, which is what yeah. So then the waiter was like, sure. Is everything okay? I was like, yeah, I'm going to go, but I'm going to go back. So you explain to this person when I'm gone that I'm not paid for the drink bill. And that is how I took my power back. Because I was like, no, you did not expect to know. Other than throwing the drink over your head, the decent thing to do right now is for me to move away. So have you ever come across anything like that, Lynn? I don't know. What would you have done?
I think the only saving grace was you're in a public space and there were other people around you and you had the bar staff there to go to, thank goodness. But yeah, I mean, he obviously saw you as well as you had a company card with you and therefore he was going to abuse it as well. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's not acceptable.
Yeah, I had a company card, but him trying to abuse that with the other lads maybe would have been a bit different, because it just, whether it's a guy or a boy or a girl, sorry, a guy or a girl, you've got to be on the same page. Like if I went out with you, Lynn, and you were just getting absolutely smashed, I'd be like, I can't, like, we're not really having a decent conversation here. So you've just got to win the room, right?
Of course. And that's what you've got to do, isn't it? If you'd gone out for a session at lunchtime, you'd expect it. But if you'd gone out to see a client, as you were doing, you don't expect one of them to get really tanked up, do you?
Yeah. And also not accept the no. So look, you're a formidable woman, right? And your husband cannot speak any highly of you. Like he even said to me today, he's like, oh, I hear you've got Lynn on the podcast today. She is an absolute legend. Like he can't stop saying that all the time. So obviously I've not been, he's such a lovely guy, but I've not been in your shoes. I've not been in your journey. But why do you think, I know this is putting you on the spot and it might make you feel a bit uncomfortable, but I like people that get uncomfortable because that's where the magic happens. Why do you think he would say that? When they say, oh, Lynn, what a woman, what a legend, what do you think they're referring to?
I really don't know. I know he knows that I've got more experience than him. He always goes on about that. And he always says I'm the brains behind the company, even though he started this company before I joined it. And, you know, I'll come on to how I got involved. But I don't know. He's always building me up. And he does that. And I think he doesn't need to for any particular reason. Do you know what I mean? I don't particularly broke now, but we've both got totally different strengths. And when we come together, it really works. You know, so for a company, you've got a man and a woman. So again, some people feel more comfortable dealing with just men. Some people feel more comfortable just dealing with women. So you've got the best of both there. You've got the family environment, i.e. we're married, but we've got totally different strengths. You know, he does broking still. So he's got all the knowledge of criteria and everything. You know, I trained as well to be an accountant. So I've got the financial skills. So together, we sort of gel well. And I don't know why he builds me up. It's really sweet of him.
It really is. And I don't know, why would you not know why he builds you up? You've gotta know this, Lynn. You've got to go on this discovery of what do people say about you when you're not in the room, right? You know, you're speaking to a branding expert here. I love this kind of conversation. Like sometimes we don't even understand our own greatness because we're not even willing to listen to it. And I think you should go on that exercise, that exploration as to what do other people see in you? Because all I hear is like, oh, Lynn's in the press for this and Lynn's amazing at that. And oh my gosh, you're about to meet it. Oh my God, what a woman. Like that's all I ever hear. And yeah, I'd love for you to know that for yourself.
Thank you. I'm not a great person. There are a lot of people out there, and it's who you are, that love to say, I'm on TV, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm the first person to have ever done this, or we're an all-woman crew. And great. I'm for anything, absolutely anything. And then if there are people out there who want to shout about it, then that's great. But I just have always thought, I'll sit back, I know what skills I've got, and it's how we've attracted brokers as well, so we don't need to shout and scream and say we are amazing. The people that we've got on board don't particularly leave us for us. Do you know what I mean? So it's really, really encouraging, and it's a real compliment that we keep staff the way we do.
So how many are you guys then? What's the team made up of?
So we've got about 25 now. So we have a BDM who used to be the BDM for Fleet Mortgages, Jackie Simmons. So she works with us trying to get brokers on board. We have a training and development manager, Stuart, who was a manager for Lloyds Bank, and him and my husband actually know each other. So he's taken on that role. Stuart does some broking too. And then the rest are brokers that Jackie or we've all found ourselves have come over. And obviously Stuart trains them, helps them. I pay them. Barry's got day-to-day knowledge of what's going on. Do you know what I mean? We've got a little WhatsApp family group, so we can all talk to each other because it's quite lonely. They're all self-employed. They all work from home. It can get a bit demotivating and lonely working from home as well. So they just know that we're here for them. Do you know what I mean? And we will help them in any way. And every year, my husband will ring them up. And not just as a, how you doing, what your targets are, but how can we help you? Where would you like to be? Perhaps not just even without the company, but in your own personal thing. Do you want to go travelling this year? Or, let us help you. Let's work towards that. So, it's more than just a business. We are a family and we want people to be happy here.
I love that. Absolutely beautiful. I think what I really like about you guys and what I've got to discover through the small stories, because like you said, you're not actually really loud and public about what it is that you do. So what I really enjoy is that quiet confidence that you guys just do so well. Like you definitely have that. And it depends. Everyone's goals are different. Like some people, me being public, like everyone's like, oh, you post every single day and you're out there. And I'm like, yeah, because my way of communicating, like my language is that expressive. Like this is how I like to express myself and this is how I like to connect with people. And had I not been so loud and public and visible on social media, this wouldn't have happened, right? I wouldn't have been able to start the podcast. I wouldn't have met your husband. I wouldn't have met all the wonderful people, all the wonderful brokers that I've been able to transform their mindset and how they see themselves in their brand so that they can put themselves out there. So for me, it doesn't matter. Like I'm not posting about something that I'm not. I'm not saying I'm in this tall skyscraper in Canary Wharf and I'm like this FTSE 500 company. Like I'm not advertising something that is not. But equally, not all successful businesses need to be loud and visible. And I think that's what I really like about you guys is that
Thank you.
You own your strengths, you own your success, you're happy with your success, and you're doing it your own way.
It's true. We do. And, there is nothing wrong in any way. It's just the way we choose to be. We don't choose to go in for awards. We don't apply to do anything like that. I've seen all the LinkedIn and Instagram stories of people on the trains going to awards, getting the awards and everything, being invited by people to go to awards as well. And you're like, that's great. But I think it's twofold. One, we don't really do that. It's not us. And, we like to just do things on our own success quietly and without shouting about it. And that's just the way we are, really.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to bring you on. I wanted to bring someone like yourself a little bit into the spotlight. I know this might feel really unlike your normal kind of the things that you've just said. You've said, we don't normally like to scream and shout about it, but I wanted an opportunity to scream and shout about you because I think it's great evidence. It's a great example to anyone watching that actually you don't all need to do it that way. You don't need to have awards. You don't need to have, like snazzy magazines with like, glossy covers with you on the magazine. And you don't need to be on TV interviewed by, celebrities in order to know your worth. Like that's not the only way to show your success. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, I agree totally. But, perhaps as well, it may be a age thing. Podcasts, Instagram, things like that were not available when I was your age. And I adore doing things like Instagram where my face isn't shown as much, give me a great home account and I'm all over it, and I love doing that. I love doing our house up and all those sort of things. But put me in front of a camera, yeah, and I'm a little bit, oh, no.
Yeah. No, I feel you. And actually, you mentioned the age thing, but all of my clients that get out there publicly, they're all much older than me.
Which is great. That's a confidence.
Yeah, I mean, I see that obviously there's a certain age, or there's a certain age demographic that are mortgage brokers, right? And there's younger ones up and coming, definitely. I love that the industry is getting more diverse, and that's also another topic, another discussion. But yeah, I find that most of the clients that get themselves on social media are in their 40s, 50s. Yeah.
Great.
So it can be an age thing, but I think there's something to be said about those who aren't, like you say, Instagrammy, who do get on there and actually show a different side to finance, different side to money. And what you guys bring is that longevity, that business experience, that knowledge that maybe someone who's just newly qualified and got their CMAP qualification doesn't have. So we need to see both sides of the point. We can't just see a bunch of 20-year-olds with 6 months of experience of having had their CMAP. In fact, none of my clients, none of them are newly qualified financial advisors or CMAP qualified financial advisors. It's all very well-established businesses. I won't work with anyone who's new and brand new to the space, because how do I know how good they are? Right?
True.
And why am I going to advertise them on social media and put them out there for everyone to see if they're not established, if they're not like proven yet? So yeah, that's my ethos anyway.
That's fair enough. They've got no track record.
Yeah. Sorry, go on. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say they've got no track record at all. But we say that we've got a advisor who's 20. She's newly qualified. She is absolutely going for it. She is really, really good. Do you know what I mean? And fair play to her. She is out there and she's putting some of the other ones who've been doing it for a long time to shame. She's new. She's been trained by our training and development manager, and she's just hit the road running. She's going to be a real little dynamo. So yeah, she's putting some of the established, let's say, brokers to shame.
Oh, amazing. I think, you know what, there's pros and cons. Like, yes, they're not established and they've not got the experience because they're young, but actually they are so important to the whole piece because they bring a new way of thinking. So when I first joined the brokerage that I was working for, I said to them, I was like, I don't know what a bridging loan is. Like, I don't even have my own normal mortgage at the time, let alone know what. They were like, you're hired. We want someone who doesn't know what this industry. And I was like, how easy was it to get a job like that? Basically, top tip is go to an industry you know nothing about and just tell them you don't understand it. They'll hire you, literally.
Fantastic.
That's how I came into. That's why I'm here, guys, because of a total accident. And now, I'm so passionate about it because I got to see the industry from a different point of view. And, I know my strength and where my position is, but I have to work with a lot of people who were a lot more experienced than I was. And I just got to see what they were doing differently and just try and share that in a different way. So my medium is podcasting, is writing a book, is sharing valuable content on social media. That is my way of reaching out to people to help them understand more about money, more about finance, more about property, the world that I'm in. I'm using these channels to help them understand. That's it. That's all I'm doing.
I think as well, once you're in the mortgage, finance, property industry, you never really go out of it. You might go into a different direction. I've got a 26-year-old son who's an estate agent. And I think a lot of that has come from the fact he hears me and Barry talk about mortgages. Okay, he still lives at home. He hasn't got his own mortgage, but property was something that he was really interested in. So he's gone off in that direction. But it's all linked. We all sit down at the end of the day and we could all talk about it because we all understand each other's role.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, completely get you. I get that, Lyn. So I know it's not about being big, public, loud and visible, but if people did want to connect with you, whether it was a broker looking to join your firm or a client looking to work with a family-run business like yourself, or even just maybe someone's been listening to this thinking, actually, Lyn, I totally resonate with what you said. I'd like to follow your journey a little bit more. How can we find you? Where's the best place to find you?
So we've got Facebook and Instagram, which is Mortgage Saving Experts. And we have a website, which is Mortgage Saving Experts. So we have got we have got a couple of different variations of companies out there. There's a marketing agency that is called Mortgage Savings Expert. But yeah, we are Mortgage Saving Experts with an S on the end. So we get quite a few calls from the clients. Yeah.
Don't worry, we'll put all the accurate links on the show notes. But sounds like LinkedIn is probably the best place to find you, but obviously they can research more about the company through the website.
Of course, and I'm more than happy to talk to anybody.
Thank you, Lyn. That's really kind. That's really lovely. And there you have it, guys. I wanted to show you a different perspective from someone else in the industry who has seen it right from the 1980s and seen it evolve and seen it change, but still keeping so true to her very own ethos and her very own values, even though there are newer advisors and brands coming onto the scenes that are doing things a little bit more techie or a little bit more digital. That is not the only way to grow, right? That is not the only way to build a business. Of course, on the mortgage saving experts side of things, they obviously started a long time ago and have been able to build in more traditional ways. But if you are new on the scene today, then maybe if you don't have that extensive network and that backlog of clients, then that's why obviously social media is a bit more accessible to the newly qualified or the new brands that are emerging out there. And keep coming. This industry, I wanted to show you with this podcast, with the variety of people that we bring on the show, that there is a lot of diversity in this industry. You know, there is a lot of stories. There is a lot of individuals that are all there for their own mission. So every story here is valid. And if you feel like you want yours to be heard, please do reach out. I'd love to hear from new people and new stories. And one more time, if you are an existing listener, but you have not yet pressed the subscribe button, please kindly subscribe, because we love to grow this show so that we can bring you more exciting guests like Lyn. Thanks, Lyn, again for being such a great money honey.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's been great.
Thank you.